Checking connection. What's up, throttlers? Aristotle Full Throttle here, and we're doing another live stream, another day, another stream. Noon-ish Pacific time. Every day we talk about movies. We talk about our favorite things about movies, and we just have a good time. We relax. Today we're going to talk about comedy movies and comedy sequels. Comedy sequels, is it possible? Is it a real thing? Can it be done? Has it been done? If it has been done, let me know if you found a comedy sequel that is as good or better than the first one, because it's really difficult to do that. We're going to get into it. First, we're going to drink some coffee. We're also going to like this video if you're watching this on YouTube. There is a dude hacking outside my window and spitting. People, you need to not be this guy. Don't be that guy. Not now. Unless you're in New York in the 80s, don't ever be that guy. Please. Just wash your hands. Wear a face covering, even though the face covering is more for if you are sick and you don't want to spread it to others. It helps you also prevents you from touching your face as much and your mucosal membranes and all that fun stuff. So please, guys, let's come together by staying apart. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. If you're watching on YouTube, like this. If you're watching on Instagram, I'm going to wave to you guys. Wave. And, tap the screen. I don't know. Something magical happens. I get hearts. I get some kind of, what magically happens? I get validation. Thank you. Kung Fu Hustle 2. I didn't know they made a sequel. Will, you got to tell me. See, this is why we do these things every day, because I got to learn. Kung Fu Hustle 2 is a go. I believe it. You know what I liked? I liked Airplane 2. Airplane, these I thought were pretty funny. Hot Shots Part 2. See, these are the kinds of comedies that I think are pretty funny. If you watch those movies, you'll get a really keen insight into my sense of humor and understand me a little bit better. But those movies, I think, work as sequels because they're just a bunch of gags in a row. So if you just think of a bunch of more gags, a bunch more cheesy little gags, then you can make as many of those movies as you want. Very literal puns, stuff like that. Visual. What's up, that geek guy? 01. Blue Well. Strange L. Sanchez. That's a very mysterious name. Well-timed topic. Just made a video on my feed. Here we go. Here we're talking about it. We're talking about sequels. But first, guys, remember to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. I think a lot of people maybe kind of walk in the room and they're like, oh, hey, I'm going to sit on your couch for a minute. If you do that, just push the subscribe button. It's easy. This person is having upper respiratory problems. I might have to call an ambulance for them. I'm not serious. I'm joking a little bit here. Little update for my parents. My parents both have COVID-19. I wanted to give you guys a little update on that. They're feeling tired, achy, though no shortness of breath so far, which is good. They are doing well. It's been about a week. So keep an eye out. I'm sure most of us by now know someone, or at least know someone who has it, because it's a pandemic, and that's how pandemics work. It's a bit hazy in here, isn't it? Let me clear the lens there. That's much better. What's up, Michael B. Ryder? Are you related to Michael B. Jordan? I think Michael B. Jordan had the name Michael Jordan, right? And was like, I'm going to be an actor. And if you join the Screen Actors Guild, do you need a different name than everyone else who's been in the Screen Actors Guild so as not to cause confusion in the marketplace? So Michael Jordan, when he joined acting, he was like, I'm going to be the Michael Jordan of acting. Excuse me, my stomach is rumbling. And he was probably like, I'm going to be the Michael Jordan of acting, which is a tall order. But then he probably had to add the letter B because you have to change your name. You can't have the same name. Like Michael J. Fox had to put the J in the middle of his name. It doesn't stand for anything. It was because his middle name started with an A, and he didn't want to sound like Michael A. Fox. And there was also a Michael Fox already in the Screen Actors Guild, so he changed his name to Michael Arbitrary J. Fox. But Michael B. Jordan put a B. He just made it sound worse. He said, I'm not only going to be the Michael Jordan, I'm B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan. Excuse me. Can't help it. Get a muffler! Sorry. Some of these people these days, guys. I can't even, I don't know where to begin, but I know where to end. And we end where we're all dead. Damn it, we're all dead. Comedy sequels. One of my favorite comedies is Ghostbusters. I think it's a great comedy. I think it's from top to bottom hilarious. It's got people not ready for primetime players being ready for movie making, and it was hilarious from top to bottom. Although the sequel was born out of demand, perhaps instead of inspiration, because Ghostbusters 2 is not that funny. It is pretty funny, but it's not as funny, nor is it as good. So I think that suffers. My opinion about the Austin Powers movies is they got funnier as they went. However, I have friends who were like, they got worse, exponentially worse as they went. So there's 3 Austin Powers movies, but I was like, or are there 4 by now? There's probably 14. I thought they were funnier by the time you got to the 3rd one, because it was just so many setups. So do comedy sequels rely on the... Ghostbusters 2 had its moments, I think. Also, Will thinks that. My favorite scene in Ghostbusters 2 is when Egon is in the lab studying the fighting couple, and which is actually integral to the plot of that movie. He's trying to catch all the negative vibes that they're generating, and he's studying that. And Dana comes in, Dana being Bill Murray, Peter Venkman's ex-girlfriend, and Dana says, does Peter ever ask about me? And behind her back is Egon with his scanners, and he just goes, no. And then he scans her for negative vibes. It's pretty funny. He don't care. He's a scientist. Scientists don't care about nobody's feelings. Unless those feelings generate slime underneath New York City. Then they've got to deal with it. Yeah, the movies get more and more... See, 22 Jump Street, pretty funny. Tatiana Wilkinson, thank you for joining us on today's daily stream at noon Pacific time, AristotleFullThrottle.com. You can go there to subscribe to my YouTube channel, or you can watch here on Instagram Live. It's simulcast, as they would say in the 80s. Tatiana Wilkinson, 22 Jump Street is pretty funny. And I have to agree with you, I think it's my favorite comedy sequel of all time. I could not stop laughing, and that was a good sign. Oh, however, there are movies that are sequels, technically, that I don't think are... I mean, people might find this controversial, but the movies that I've laughed the most at in my entire life, laughed thoroughly, could not stop laughing, was dying laughing, were the Jackass movies. And those movies seem to get funnier as they went, too. But those aren't real movies. They're just kind of like gag reels. Will, why have you not seen the Jump Street movies? Those are a perfect example of a studio having a property like the Jump Street movies and deciding to just go, well, we've got this in name only, so why don't we just take the basic premise and completely screw around and change it and make it my Instagram feed has a nice view of my crotch, so I'll replace that with keyboard. They go, why don't they just change that up and make it like a movie that I think Jonah Hill was his first movie that he ever wrote, was 21 Jump Street. And pretty funny. Pretty damn funny. I don't want to spill my coffee on my lap now. 22 Jump Street, I think, is arguably the greatest comedy sequel ever made. Men in Black 3. Yeah, I did like Men in Black 3. However, it did. Hey, what's up, Doug Beamer? Thank you for beaming your beaming in here. We're talking about comedies and comedy sequels and whether or not there can be such a thing as a comedy sequel that is good, or at least good as good as the first one, or better. Is Aristotle Full Throttle, Station Identification. Josh Brolin was good in Men in Black 3, I thought. He was a dead-on impression of Tommy Lee Jones, the younger version. I like that Tommy Lee Jones basically has not changed in 30 years or so. His demeanor, his attitude. I thought that was great. However, Men in Black 3 felt like for everybody it was like, okay, let's just get this over with. Let's just make another Men in Black. Because I guess Will Smith isn't doing anything right now. Let's give him a job. And Tommy Lee Jones only wants to half be in it. Yeah. Jonah Hill isn't always funny to you. Yeah, Jonah Hill, I think I liked him a lot in his first appearance in a movie, which was The 40-Year-Old Virgin, when he wanted to buy the boots from the eBay store. And he was like, I just want to purchase these boots so that I could take them home and wear them. I thought that was very funny. However, I could see Jonah Hill not always being funny. It's interesting that he's really working at being a dramatic actor now. And when I see actors like Jonah Hill doing dramatic acting, I think he's just trying to keep a straight face this whole time. And what's going on? Oops, I turned the camera around. Didn't mean to do that. That's hilarious. You guys got a glimpse into my camera. Yeah, I was just zooming in so you guys didn't have to all just stare at my crotch. You're welcome. I'll play you some songs, though. I just wrote that. Don't steal it. Copyright. Let's see. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation follow-up to European Vacation. I agree. Christmas Vacation is probably my favorite of the vacations. The original is pretty funny. The Wally World and all that. Christy Brinkley. That was cool. However, John Candy's in that movie. John Candy made every movie better. Was his problem that he wasn't the leading guy usually? I mean, Uncle Buck is pretty phenomenal. But it's not a sequel. Is John Candy in any comedy sequels? I don't know. Here, let me fix my hair. Let me fix my wig. See, this is what happens when you're in quarantine. You don't have your makeup artists and hair people. Like Joe. Joe's not here anymore. I fired him. But, hang on here. Let me just adjust. I'm remembering Back to the Future 2. Are any sequels as good as the first one? That might be the overarching question. It's just not great. And sometimes you have a Batman and Robin, which is excellent. The dog bit. Yeah, the vacation movies are pretty funny, except they kept trying to do them. At what point are you beating a dead horse? That's the question I want to know. What point do comedies just have they used up all their jokes? You know, like Louis C.K. God rest his soul. What's up, Kelsey, Alabama? We're just talking about comedy sequels. Are there any good ones? Yes. 22 Jump Street. And then that's it. Maybe the Austin Powers movies. But definitely the Naked Gun movies are pretty funny. Ghostbusters 2 falls short. It's not as funny. It's about half as funny as the first one, which still makes it a funny movie. but still kind of a letdown. All right, Sean 6226. That's like my first address was 22662. So I think we're going to have a psychic connection, Sean. You and me. Let me adjust this screen here. Doing lots of adjusting here, guys. You know, that's what we do. We go with the flow. Ed Helms, the Hangover movies. Yeah. I don't know. That Hangover movies got worse too. I don't like that first one. It's just a good old fashioned dumb screwball comedy. Great premise. Nobody remembers what happened the night before. However, I think the missed opportunity for the Hangover sequels, again, I don't understand why people just don't do this all of the time. In the first Hangover, they wake up from a night of they don't know what, and every single thing that's like continuing to is an earthquake. Sorry, everything continues to unfold throughout the entire movie, and we're learning more and more about these guys, about what they did, and they're learning more and more about what they did the night before. In the second one, they should have just kept finding out more stuff that happened that night that they don't remember, and that would have just been ridiculous, but also funny. But instead, they just redid the same thing. They took a bunch of drugs, and then they drank, and then they went to sleep, and then they didn't remember what happened, and then they just did the same first movie over again. Why not just keep mining the first movie, the first event? Why not set off a chain reaction of stuff that happened from that first freaking mistake that they made? How are they going to make the same mistake 2 times more for 2 sequels? I am not in focus. Hold on a second. There we go. I think that was a missed opportunity. I don't like when sequels don't listen to me. Sequels need to do what I tell them. Who would have thought that was funnier if they just kept finding out more stuff from the one night? I would have. The Addams Family Values? That was pretty good. I thought that... Is the Addams Family Values the one where... There's the line where Gomez is standing there, the dad, played by Raul Julia, and the woman, she meets him, and she's like, wow, aren't you a lady killer? And he pulls his pipe out and says, acquitted. Good jokes like that. It's classic comedy like that I enjoy. Keep making that, Hollywood. This show is basically for me to just tell Hollywood what to do so I can be entertained. The Vacation movie with Ed Helms. Yeah, doesn't he play his son or something? Chevy Chase, I hear, is very difficult to work with. That's what I hear anyway. And that's what everyone says about him. I hear that because people are saying that. I've learned from the current administration that if you just say, people are saying after anything, you can literally say anything. People are saying monkeys might fly out of my butt. I've heard this before. People are saying that I am legitimately Jesus Christ. It's not just me. People are saying that. Perhaps I just said it, and now, therefore, that means people are saying it. City Slickers 2. Isn't that like Curly's Revenge or something? I forget what that one was called, but there is a subtitle that includes, man, Jack Palance was pretty cool. He's a very breathy dude. Very slow-talking, breathy guy. I am going to talk to you today about Jack Palance. Man, good thing he's not alive in the time of the Rona, because he probably sounds like he has some respiratory issues. That's like a womp womp sound that I just made up here. There it is. Thank you. I'll just be providing my own rim shots today. Uh, rim shots, guys. Don't be dirty. Um, my own musical accompaniment. Thank you. And I'm the band. That's speaking of Chevy Chase. He had a talk show in the '90s where he actually played keyboard and was part of his own band. Hello, CL Hodge 11. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've brought some potatoes. We're all hungry. Let's see. The Legend of Curly's Gold. That is one subtitle. That is definitely a subtitle. The mail around here is real violent. I don't know if you could hear it, but it's very violent. Hey, Bota. Hey, Tristan. 2019. Kicking it old school with 2019 as your tag. Remember 2019, guys? Good year. Better than this one. 2020 is going to start any moment now. 2020 is the worst sequel ever so far. Hey, maybe it'll get good. Comedy sequels. What other comedy sequels do we got? That guy stopped hawking loogies outside my window. That's good. Gremlins 2. That was pretty funny, guys. Let's get real. You know, my favorite movie of all time, one of them, is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, I thought was pretty funny. I enjoyed it. However, I was rewatching it recently, and there are unfortunate jokes in both of those movies. Unfortunate, I say, because they just should not have done that in the first place, and they would not get away with it today. The beloved Bill and Ted, there's some homophobic slurage that goes on in the first and second one, and it's kind of unforgivable and sad, but those are my favorite movies, so I suggest that they cut, I'm not into retconning anything, but it would be easily remedied with a simple cut in both of those movies if you want to rewrite history and say, hey, this never happened. Bill and Ted never said the F word. Twice. They doubled down on that joke in the second movie. And you're just like, guys, it's 2020. Time of the corona. Favorite Star Wars movie. That's easy. It's the best Star Wars movie. Empire Strikes Back. Next question, please. What's your favorite Star Wars movie? My third favorite Star Wars movie, and this is going to start a firestorm, is probably The Last Jedi, but nobody wants to jump on that train. Thank you. I am John Williams' second cousin's brother's son's uncle. 1980s and 90s. Ooh. Yeah, Teen Wolf. Yeah, you gotta watch Teen Wolf. Teen Wolf probably has a lot of... Yeah, I haven't seen Teen Wolf in many years, so if I watch it now, there's probably a lot of cringe moments. Because there was stuff we were just mute. I mean, it was just our ears were deaf to at a certain point. Even though... Or we were just accustomed to, I guess, certain levels of racism and homophobia in every time period before now. Now's probably the most tolerant time period in human history, guys. So when people ask me, hey, what era in history of the world would you want to visit if you could go back and visit any time period in the history of the world? And I'm like, next week. Because there's no other time period I could go to. I'd like to go to medieval England. You'd probably be found like some sorcerer or warlock, and they toss you into like a snake pit. guys. Haven't you seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? They put them in the Iron Maiden. Almost. They weren't, not the band. Like, they weren't going to see the band. They were going to get murdered to death. The Empire Strikes Back is easily the greatest Star Wars movie. It took everything and elevated it. And then what had happened was the sequels after that just never really lived up to that movie. So we could just give up on that hope forevermore now. Let's see, what kind of filters can we use? I'm going to wear my sunglasses. All right. Is this cool? No. Hey guys, this is the fun part about doing the Instagram one. It's a disco in here. I like that. Oh, you're all going to get a seizure. Hang on. There you go. Hearts. This is just suggestion. It's just the power of suggestion that you'll tap the screen. This is what I like to give out. Love and hearts. Comedy gold here, guys. What is even that? Oh, yeah, we're on Mars here. All right. I'm going to cut that out. Thank you for indulging me. Yeah, some Star Wars movies are good. They'll never top Empire. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get there anytime soon. I don't think it's going to be for another maybe... I think the Marvel movies are the new Star Wars, and the Marvel movies aren't even the new Star Wars. They're the new Lord of the Rings movies. So take that. We are talking comedy. Yes, Ali G has made it to America. However, was there an Ali G sequel? There was Ali G Into House, which was the wrong way to do an Ali G movie, which was to make it a narrative movie and just have him be a character in a movie filled with characters. And then they got the idea for when he did Borat, for when Sacha Baron Cohen played Borat, to just do a straight up semi-narrative movie, but have him mess with real people. And that is the way to get laughs. Those are the movies I've laughed the hardest at. Borat. And, yeah. But is it a sequel? Is it a sequel to Ali G Into House? I don't know. The Legend of Curly's Gold. Favorite Spider-Man movie? I saw that Spider-Man was trending this morning. It's probably Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah. Which is the one with the thing. Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming is probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. I liked the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, but I wasn't like super gaga for them like everybody seemed to be for Spider-Man 2. I was like, yeah, it's good. I like it. But I'm a Spider-Man fan. Watching that movie, I thought, you know what? Good job. However, I disagree with a lot of it. It's the Galaxy Man Show. Thank you for joining. I'm waving to you. Ali G. So you're telling me that Borat is the sequel to Ali G Into House? Because I used to watch Ali G Into House on HBO, as they say in Canada. And I used to watch that show all the time, and I would laugh. And I actually watched several episodes of Ali G Into House on Home Box Office, HBO. And I didn't realize it was several episodes before I realized that Sacha Baron Cohen played all three people. He played Bruno, Ali G, and Borat. That's how dense. I just thought it was three different dudes being funny until I realized it was the same guy. Pretty remarkable. What do you think about Sacha Baron Cohen? Do you think he would have been a better Freddie Mercury? Do you think he would have won an Oscar playing Freddie Mercury? Probably not, but that movie might have been more interesting. Bohemian Rhapsody, have you seen that? Yeah, humor does not always age well. I agree with you, Will. Humor can be very much of its time. I noticed that when I was growing up, the comedies were very thoroughly written comedies. Like the jokes were written in the script and actors would perform the jokes. Now they just get comedians and they roll camera on comedians until the comedians come up with something in that moment that's funny. And I don't know how that will ever really hold up. That was like the problem with the new Ghostbusters movie, the one with Leslie Jones in it. That movie, listen, I watched it. There was no need for it. I laughed a few times, but there was no need for the movie overall, I would say. There's never a need for a movie. Let's be real here, people. Nobody needs a movie. Maybe right now you need a movie or movie suggestions, but movies are they're non-essential workers. We don't need them. It's pretty ageless. Although they do have some, I don't know. It's pretty universally hilarious. I mean, I grew up watching Monty Python, and it was already decades old at that point. The Ministry of Silly Walks. If you guys want to take a look at that, Monty Python, I would say, is got a bit of sexist vibe, though. Sadly, and that was not pointed out to me. I mean, it was pointed out to me in recent years how. But everything's gonna lose. Nothing's gonna be the same in the future, guys. Everything that we think is cool today is gonna be abhorrent at some point in the future. Everything that we do. So just try not to hurt anybody. Try to wash your hands, maybe, at the very least. But there's so many things that we do today. I think 100 years' time, people are going to look back at this period and say, so they knew about the climate changing and they didn't do anything? That's pretty much what people are going to say 100 years from now. Wait, let me get this straight. They were aware of the thing happening and they did very minimal. Okay, so they drove hybrids? They brought their own bags to the supermarket. Yeah. But that's just my soapbox, guys. Join me every day as we drink coffee and complain about politics. And maybe mention movies every now and then. Monty Python is offensive on purpose and pulls it off. Yeah, Monty Python likes to skirt that line. And absurdity. I think the thing I would say my favorite type of comedy, and I think, in my opinion, it is the highest form of comedy, not just puns, but, by the way, I'm going to do a little offshoot here. People always say puns. I don't know if you've heard this, but people may not like puns. Puns are a play on words. Puns are when you take something, excuse me, it's the coffee, literally, or you make a thing that sounds like a word. And you know what a pun is, guys. People might say around you, oh, pun, the lowest form of comedy, which is it's a misnomer. Actually, up until about 50, 60 years ago, puns were considered literally the highest form of comedy. People thought if you could synthesize concepts with sounds and words and all that stuff, that you were quite witty and clever. And if you could create a pun, that it was good on you for that. And it was considered the only form of comedy, the highest form of comedy. And like Will says, yeah, humor doesn't always age well. Fine. But next time someone says that a pun is the lowest form of comedy, you can inform them that at one point it was the highest form of comedy, and it only arbitrarily switched at some point. I will learn how to say that word before the show is over. Here's another thing. The turn of the century. When people say the turn of the century is actually the 50-year mark. It's not the 0 mark. So 2000 was not the turn of the century. 1950 was the turn of the century. I'm just going to send you home with science and facts, guys. 2050 will be the turn of the 21st century. We're learning. We're learning today. I think I was talking about some kind of sequel about puns. I was going to talk about Monty Python. Yeah, the highest form of comedy, in my opinion, is when you take something really dumb and really smart at the same time. If something can be really, really clever, but also incredibly stupid at the same time, that's my favorite thing ever. Like the line in Ghostbusters when they said Dickless here turned off the power. And the mayor says, "Is this true?" And he says, and Bill Murray says, "Yes, this man has no dick." It's incredible. Highest form of comedy. Dick jokes. Thank you. The English Language, the sequel. Not funny. I haven't seen the English language. All the different wrinkles in the English language and how oftentimes things can be misconstrued in funny ways. For instance, if you say pants here, that means pants. But if you're in England, pants means underpants. And there they say knickers. But here, knickers means pants. Knickerbockers. It's short for knickerbocker. So it's just very confusing if you speak English to people who speak English. I find that fascinating. I could read that stuff all day long. I do like Monty Python because I think they synthesize the highest form of intellectual goofery with the lowest form of stuff. Like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Monty Python does age well. Life of Brian. They're taking on religion itself in that movie. Artie Lang, one of the great comedians of our time. God rest his soul. I know he's not dead yet, but I'm just being preemptive because it's going to be any day now. The guy is very, very volatile. I hate to say that, but it's true. To quote Artie Lang, if you could make a dumb guy laugh and a smart guy laugh at the same time, you're onto something. Your mother was a hamster. Your mother, yeah, the French guys. You know, I often say this, and every time I meet someone with this name, I'll say this, and they will not be amused because I get a lot of name jokes. If this is your first time here, guys, remember to like this channel, subscribe. Also, share the feed. Share it, retweet it. Like this if you're watching on YouTube. Like the video right now. I would love that. Thank you. It would help this pop up in the algorithm, and then we could have more people talking about dumb things. And what more do we want than that? Yeah, if you could make a smart guy laugh and a dumb guy laugh at the same time. Oh, this is what I often say to someone who's has this name. Some call me Tim. If you've seen the Monty Python movies, you'll get that joke. Jimmy James, welcome to the show. We were talking about you, and we were wondering when you'd show up. We're waving to you now. We're all looking at you. So answer the question, Jimmy James. Answer the question. You're on the hot seat. There's no question. I'm just joking. Did I pass judgment on Addams Family? It's good. Addams Family is good. I liked it. They do what they want to do, say what they want to say, live how they want to live, play how they want to play. Slap and they kick a friend. Listen, I am just telling you what the Addams Family does. According to MC Hammer. Or he might have just been Hammer at the time. Sorry, man, I had a large delivery. I had to check the system first. Fair enough. We won't hold it against you. Jimmy James, what is the best comedy sequel? It's 22 Jump Street. But that's my opinion. What do you say? The Addams Family. Guys, when you hire MC Hammer in the 90s to write your theme song, it's another one of those cases where they're like, we need a theme song for this movie. Be as literal as possible. They do what they want to do, say what they want to say. What is the greatest comedy sequel ever? That's what we're trying to solve. Because once we solve that, everything will be all right for the next 15 minutes. Oh, every Muppet movie sequel. Those are pretty funny. It's hard to find an actually genuine motivation for a comedy sequel, I think. Because in Ghostbusters 2, I mean, it was kind of revamping a lot of the stuff from the first one, just dressed up in different clothes. Very hard. The greatest comedy sequel. But on a limb here, Hot Shots Part 2. Yep. I actually mentioned that for that movie being very funny. Rowan Atkinson being Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean being Pee Wee Herman's second cousin. Smarter, more funny cousin. Yeah, that movie's great. I liked that part where Charlie Sheen and Martin Sheen pass each other on the boats and they both say to each other, I loved you in Wall Street. That was pretty funny. It made no sense inside the context of the movie, but I don't like when things make sense. I prefer absurdity. And also, I'm a pineapple. There are so many one and done comedies. It's tough. It's like being funny. I do like how one of the outtakes, I think, in Rush Hour 2, when Jackie jumps out the window and he's like, ain't gonna be no Rush Hour 3. Yeah. There are so many funny things. See, I like comedy sequels that are just... But this is just me. I think... What was his name? Abrams directed Hot Shots movies. Abrams directed The Naked Gun and the Hot Shots movies, and the Zucker brothers did the Airplane movies. Also, Jerry Zucker directed Ghost. I don't know if you know that, but Jerry Zucker, director of Airplane, Abrams Zucker, Ghost also. But those are the kind of comedies I think really work because they're just a series of gags. Just a bunch of gags. Just a bunch of jokes, visual jokes, comedy, making fun of movies that are out at the same time. Spaceballs, we're still waiting on the sequel for that. I heard that Mel Brooks was going to make the sequel to Spaceballs because he does make a joke when he's yogurt in Spaceballs and he says, we're going to call Spaceballs 2 The Search for More Money, which is hilarious. And they actually had a script for Spaceballs 2 The Search for More Money. But then they kept readapting it to the point where Mel Brooks was going to call it Spaceballs 3 The Search for Spaceballs 2 The Search for More Money, which I think is freaking hilarious. Who'd want to see another Spaceballs movie? Because they could make so much fun of... They can make so much more fun of the Star Wars universe at this point. What's the best comedy sequel that's never been made? Good one. Look Who's Talking 4. And it should be called Look Who's Talking More. Because they get clever. I gotta say that Will said Look Who's Talking 2. But TOO. Yeah. Look Who's Talking 2. When did they start moving on to dogs? They went from babies to dogs. I think once you start doing dogs and in space, you're kind of done. You're burnt out on sequel ideas. Look who's talking 7 dogs in space. Look who's that. See, I always found it funny that John Travolta, remember him from Grease? That's all people remembered him from was Grease and Saturday Night Fever. And then he was like, well, I guess I'll do Look Who's Talking movies now. And he did a bunch of those. And then people were like, all right, John Travolta, that's a wrap. And then Quentin Tarantino came along and said, hey, John Travolta, you were in Grease and you were in Saturday Night Fever and you are a good actor. I'm going to put you in Pulp Fiction. And then revitalized John Travolta and made him serious again until John Travolta made himself not serious by being a Scientologist and weirdo. Adele Dazeem. What a weirdo. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. They probably stopped at 3 Look Who's Talking movies. They brought in Joan Rivers. She did have a distinctive voice. If you wanted to see who was talking, it was probably Joan Rivers with her voice. People talking. I can't believe we're talking about these movies and we haven't yet mentioned Breakfast at Tiffany's 2. And there's no reason we should have ever mentioned it either. Gremlins 2 was good because it just completely flipped the script and made everything dumb and super over-the-top absurd. Wayne's World 2, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, I thought was pretty funny. However, those movies, they're really difficult at holding up. They are beloved in my heart. However, they are not excellent as I remember. But they were pretty great for their time. Which is a bad excuse for anything, isn't it? It was really good. You had to be there. So, like people lining up around the block for Star Wars, that's because people they had a string and a stick to wind the string around, and that's all they had. They didn't have movies until Star Wars. So people were excited when they got that. And you'll hear them say that. Of course I'll see part 3 of Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted's like my favorite thing. I would go on that bogus journey with them again. I was legitimately watching Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey the other day and enjoying it. However, there are parts that I can understand that if someone were to watch that for the first time, they would say, this movie is just a bad movie. And I think Tarantino likes to string all his movies together with Red Apple cigarettes. They're in every one of his movies. If you notice that, it's a fictional brand that he came up with that all of his movies have. So they're somehow connected. Vincent Vega and Vic Vega and Vincent Vega are brothers. So those are 2 different characters from Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. Yep. Tatiana stood in line for the first Star Wars, man. You make it sound like the Dark Ages. Listen, if all you had back then was a game called Jax, then it was the Dark Jax. If you don't know what Jax is, there were things on the ground, like pieces of metal on the ground, looked like scrap metal, in a rubber ball. This is like World War II technology. And you would bounce the ball, and then the object of the game is to pick up the pieces of metal and then catch the ball. You bounce the ball, pick up metal, catch the ball. This was the extent of the entertainment in the 70s. Okay? Then they invented Star Wars, and then everybody was happy. I came up with all the ideas for Star Wars and everything. Chewbacca, that was my idea. The whole idea of Chewbacca, I invented that. Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, magical together. Yes, they were pretty funny. Richard Pryor, George Carlin is in the Bill and Ted's movies, and I think like the greatest comedians ever are Richard Pryor and George Carlin. And I grew up watching Ellen DeGeneres and thinking that she was the greatest comedian ever. So, however, she is like a media mogul now, so it's not cool to like someone who's so popular. But she's pretty funny. She still is pretty funny. Scrabble and Risk. Risk is just jacks, but on a map. Jacks. Guys, pickup sticks. I don't know if you've heard of this game, pickup sticks, but the object of the game is in the title. Pickup sticks. People were busy picking up sticks at some point and having their friends over to join them. I would rather go see a movie. There are so many movies. Tomorrow we'll talk about summer blockbuster movies and what your favorite summer blockbuster movies of all time are. Oh, I've got a ton. What is your favorite summer blockbuster movie? We'll talk about that and enjoy. Yep. Foursquare. Connect 4. That's what they had. Connect 4. The games back then, there was really no mystery. They would say, like, you might as well have had a game called Draw a Line. Hey, Bobby, want to come over and draw a line with me? Yeah, let me go get a piece of bark from a tree and go over to the sidewalk so we could draw a line together. These people, I tell you, people are going to make fun of our entertainment today, though. People are going to say, they talked into their phones at strangers. What idiots. When they could have just telepathically connected with every being in the universe. That's more entertaining. Draw a line. Hey, Freddy, me and Bobby we're playing Draw a Line. You want to come over? Yeah, by Milton Bradley. Man, you could make $1 billion. I bet you they still sell that game. I tell you, board game companies are really evil because they will take an age-old game and then try to reinvent it and add a rule just to make it their own. And they'll never sell out. I have Jenga. I own Jenga, and it's just pieces of wood. They were like, pieces of wood, several pieces of wood for $30. Here you go. You could probably do this yourself if you had any craftsmanship. You can build your own Jenga if you went to the woods for a while. Maybe leave your house. This is what Jenga is. Pickup sticks, barrel of monkeys. Jimmy Fallon, String Roots play a Don't Stand So Close to Me. One guy was playing the Connect 4. Yeah, the Connect 4 would make probably flick the Connect 4. Don't Stand So Close to Me. Another good Police song. Perfect for the time that we're in. Except Sting was singing about a 14-year-old girl and Lolita because he mentions a novel by Nabokov. And he's recalling the time he was a teacher and was attracted to one of his students. So yeah, Creeper. You might want to think about that for a second. But it is a good song. It is a good song about a teacher not wanting to act on his impulses with a minor. So yeah, Sting. Talking about the 80s, things being irrelevant. Things not kind of going over so well today. Not the same. Pick up sticks in a barrel of monkeys. Someone and scissors. On the scissors. Oh, someone on the scissors. That's the name of my band, actually. Someone on the scissors. The one-armed scissor. Well, we're winding down now. And I thought I'd leave you with that bit of information about the song Don't Stand So Close to Me so that it would ruin it for you forever. And probably everything is ruined. I hope this is a very happy note. It's only Tuesday, guys. We've got 3 more episodes this week. Every day at noon, we're going to talk about movies. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about summer blockbuster movies. And hopefully I remember that that's the topic for tomorrow. And if I don't remember that, I hope you will remind me. Social distancing relevant back then, too. Yep, exactly. Don't stand so close to me for different reasons, Sting. Because you're a pervert, Sting. At the drive-in reference right there, yep. Transmission from the one-armed scissor. What does he say? Yeah, it's a good song. That's a great song. One-armed scissor by At the Drive-In. At the Drive-In was a band that really inspired me to join bands and also grow my hair out. So I recommend them. Thank you, Tatiana, for laughing and having fun. This is what we're going to do. We're going to entertain each other and have a good time during this time when we're all forced to do so. We're all forced to draw a line together. Everybody. I hope that we've learned something today. If anything, what I learned is that Borat is the sequel to Ali G in the House. And now I'm a better person for it. And I think you guys are all fantastic. And my heart is warmed that you're all here to share this time with me every day at noon. And hopefully if you're on YouTube, you can like the video. And you could share this with your friends. Remember to keep tuning in. We'll have our hangouts. Bring your coffee or your beverage of your choice. And we'll just have a good time. We'll speculate whether or not Bill and Ted 3 will be the greatest movie to ever be made. And perhaps they will learn from the mistakes from the first 2 movies, which there are a lot. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm Aristotle, full throttle, your bro in the know with the fro. And I'll see you later.